The eviction notice felt like sandpaper against my fingertips as I stood on my childhood home's front porch. My 3-month-old daughter Maya strapped against my chest in a worn carrier. Behind me, my husband Derek's Mercedes gleamed in the afternoon sun. The same car I'd helped him buy with my inheritance. In front of me stood my mother, arms crossed, her face a mask of cold satisfaction. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. I told you he was no good, she said, her voice carrying across the manicured lawn to where my assembled family watched from the driveway. My father, my 2 brothers, my Aunt Ruth, all of them gathered like spectators at an execution. But you never listen, Sophia. Always so stubborn. Maya whimpered against my chest, sensing the tension. I adjusted her weight, my arms aching from carrying our belongings in garbage bags for the past 6 hours. Everything I owned now fit into 2 trash bags and a diaper box. Mom, please, I started, hating the tremor in my voice. It's just for a few weeks, until I can find... No. The word cut through the humid air like a blade. You made your bed when you married that man against our wishes. You can lie in it. Derek's hand found the small of my back, and I flinched. His touch, once comforting, now felt like ownership. Like a brand. Mrs. Chen, Derek said, his voice dripping with the charm that had fooled me for so long. Surely you wouldn't turn away your own daughter and granddaughter. We've hit a rough patch, but... A rough patch? My brother Marcus stepped forward, his jaw tight. You got evicted, Derek. That's not a rough patch. That's failure. The landlord was unreasonable, Derek shot back, his fingers tightening on my waist. A warning. We were only 2 months behind. Try 5. My father interrupted, pulling out his phone. I called him. 5 months, Derek. 5 months of Sophia's paycheck going somewhere other than rent. The silence that followed was deafening. Even the birds seemed to stop singing. Maya began to cry in earnest now, her tiny fists bunching in my shirt. Baby needs to eat, I whispered, already knowing what came next. This was the dance we'd perfected over 3 months of motherhood. Derek would make a show of concern, my family would judge, and I would disappear to nurse in private shame. But my mother's next words stopped me cold. You're not welcome here, Sophia. Not while you're with him. She glanced at Derek with pure venom. But the baby can stay. My world tilted. What? You heard me? My mother's voice softened slightly when she looked at Maya's red, scrunched face. Leave him. Come back alone with my granddaughter, and we'll talk. But I won't enable this disaster of a marriage by giving you a safety net. That's insane, Derek snarled, dropping the charm entirely. You can't separate a mother from her child? Watch me, my mother said coolly. Sophia is an adult who made her choices. That baby didn't choose any of this. The ground seemed to dissolve beneath my feet. I looked at my father, pleading silently for him to intervene. He'd always been the reasonable one, the mediator. But he just stared at his shoes, his jaw working like he was chewing glass. Dad? Your mother's right, he said finally, not meeting my eyes. We can't watch you destroy yourself anymore, Sophia. If you won't save yourself, at least let us save Maya. The garbage bags suddenly felt impossibly heavy. So did Maya, despite her barely weighing 12 pounds. So did everything. My marriage, my choices, the past 3 years of my life that had led to this moment. Sophia, Derek hissed in my ear. Let's go. We don't need these people. But where would we go? The eviction had been the final straw after months of financial bleeding. Derek's investments that never materialized. His business opportunities that always needed just one more cash injection. My salary as a medical transcriptionist had been decent. Not great, but enough for a modest life. until Derek's financial black hole swallowed it all. I need to feed her, I said numbly, already turning away from my mother's cold stare. Use the guest bathroom, my mother said. Then I want you gone. The house smelled the same as it always had. Lavender and old books and the vanilla candles my mother bought in bulk from Costco. It should have felt like coming home. Instead, it felt like a museum to a life I could never return to. I locked myself in the small bathroom off the hallway, sinking onto the closed toilet lid as Maya latched on hungrily. Her tiny hand rested on my breast, fingers splayed like a starfish. Trust, pure and absolute. I'm sorry, I whispered to her. I'm so sorry, baby girl. My phone buzzed. Derek. Hurry up. Your family is staring at me like I'm a criminal. Derek. This is humiliating. Derek. Sophia. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it like this video, it means a lot to us. Now back to the story. I turned the phone face down on the bathroom counter, focusing on Maya's contented nursing sounds. These moments were the only peace I'd known in months. Just me and her, the rest of the world temporarily locked out. A soft knock on the door made me jump. It's Ruth, my aunt's voice came through. Can I come in? I hesitated, then unlocked the door. Aunt Ruth slipped inside, closing it quickly behind her. She was my mother's younger sister, 63 to my mother's 70, and had always been the family wild card. 3 divorces, no kids, a successful career in real estate that she'd built from nothing. Let me see her, Ruth said softly, crouching down to eye level with Maya. Her face softened in a way I'd never seen before. She's beautiful, Sophia. Absolutely. Perfect. Thank you, I managed, trying not to cry. Ruth was quiet for a long moment, just watching Maya nurse. Then she said, I was married to a man like Derek once. My second husband, Richard. I looked up sharply. I'd never heard this story. Charming, handsome, always had a big plan that was going to make us rich. Ruth's voice was distant, remembering. Every paycheck I earned went into his schemes. Every time I questioned him, he made me feel small. Ungrateful. Like I was the problem. What happened? I whispered. I got pregnant. Ruth's eyes went distant. I was 38. Thought it was a miracle. Richard was thrilled, until he realized a baby meant I couldn't work as many hours. Couldn't fund his dreams as easily. She paused, her throat working. I lost the baby at 20 weeks. A boy. I named him James. Aunt Ruth, I'm so sorry. After I lost James, I stayed with Richard for 2 more years. 2 years of telling myself it would get better, that he would change, that I'd already lost so much. I couldn't lose him too. She finally looked at me, her eyes bright with unshed tears. The day I left was the day he hit me for the first time. Not hard, just a slap. But I knew if I stayed it would get worse. They always do. My blood ran cold. Derek hasn't... He's never... Yet. Ruth cut in gently. He hasn't yet. But I see how he looks at you, Sophia. How he touches you. Like you're his property. His resource to be managed and controlled. Maya had finished nursing, her mouth slack with milk-drunk contentment. I lifted her to my shoulder, patting her back mechanically while my mind raced. I can't take you in, Ruth continued, anticipating my question. Your mother would never forgive me, and I can't risk my relationship with her. She's all the family I have left. But... She pulled out her wallet, extracting 5 $20 bills. Take this. It's not much, but it's something. I can't. Yes, you can. She pressed the money into my free hand, folding my fingers over it. And I want you to have my number. My real number, not the family one. She scribbled on a scrap of paper from her purse. If you need help, real help, you call me. Not to move in, but if you need advice or resources or just someone to talk to who understands. Thank you, I breathed, clutching the money like a lifeline. Another knock, harder this time. Sophia, Derek's voice, sharp with impatience. We need to go. Now. Ruth squeezed my shoulder once, then slipped out of the bathroom. I heard her say something to Derek, her voice too low to make out. Then his angry response. Mind your own business, lady. I burped Maya, changed her diaper using the last one from the emergency stash in my pocket, and steeled myself. The money from Ruth went into my bra, hidden. Derek had a habit of borrowing any cash I had. When I emerged, the family tableau had shifted. My brothers flanked Derek on the porch, not quite threatening, but clearly ready to intervene if needed. My mother watched from the doorway, arms still crossed. My father had retreated to his car, unable or unwilling to witness more. Finally, Derek muttered, grabbing one of my garbage bags. Let's go. Where? The question escaped before I could stop it. Derek's jaw tightened. I have a lead on a place. Friend of mine might have a room. A friend. That meant someone from the poker games Derek swore he'd stopped attending. Someone who probably had an agenda, a favor they'd call in later. Sophia, my mother said as we reached the steps. I turned, hoping desperately for a last-minute reprieve. Instead, she said, when you're ready to leave him, you know where we are. The door is open for you and Maya. Just you and Maya. The words should have been comforting. They felt like a noose. Derek's friend lived in a part of town I'd only driven through with my car doors locked. The apartment complex was a squat gray building with bars on the windows and a broken security gate hanging at an angle. Graffiti decorated the concrete walls in colors that might have been cheerful under different circumstances. This is temporary, Derek said as he pulled into a spot between a rusted pickup truck and a car sitting on cinder blocks. Just until my deal with Marcus goes through. Marcus. The name was new. I didn't ask. I'd learned that asking questions only led to fights, and I was too tired to fight. The friend turned out to be a guy named Skull, yes, Skull, with a tattoo of an actual skull covering his throat, who met us at the door of a third-floor unit. The smell hit me first. Stale beer, cigarette smoke, and something chemically sharp that made my eyes water. Yo, Derek! Skull clasped hands with my husband like they were old war buddies. His eyes slid over me and Maya with casual dismissal. This the wife? Sophia, I said quietly. Right. So, here's the deal. Skull gestured to the apartment's interior, which was exactly as depressing as the smell suggested. You can crash in the spare room. Rent's $300 a week. A week? The words burst out before I could stop them. For one room? You're free to look elsewhere, Skull said, shrugging. But Derek says you're kinda desperate, so... I looked at Derek, who refused to meet my eyes. $300 a week was $1,200 a month for a room in a drug den with a newborn. My entire paycheck was $2,800 a month after taxes. We'll take it, Derek said. For 1 week, I interjected firmly. While we look for something else. Skull smirked. Sure, sweetheart. Whatever you say. The room was barely big enough for a twin mattress on the floor and a plastic dresser with 2 drawers missing. The window was cracked, taped over with duct tape that had yellowed with age. The carpet was stained with substances I didn't want to identify. This is where you want your daughter to sleep? I asked Derek as soon as Skull left us alone. This is where we can afford to sleep, Derek shot back. Unless you've got a better idea? I didn't. That was the problem. That first night, I barely slept. Maya was restless, crying every hour, sensitive to the unfamiliar sounds and smells. Through the thin walls, I could hear Skull and his friends laughing, their voices rising and falling in irregular waves. Once, something crashed, followed by a burst of angry shouting. Derek slept through it all, sprawled on his half of the mattress, snoring. At 3 in the morning, I gave up on sleep entirely. I sat with my back against the wall, Maya nursing in the darkness, and let myself finally cry. Quietly, so I wouldn't wake Derek or give Skull's friends ammunition for mockery. My phone buzzed. Ruth. Ruth. I know it's late. Just wanted you to know I'm thinking about you. You're stronger than you know. Such a simple message. It shouldn't have meant so much. But it did. Me. Thank you. We're safe. That's what matters. The lie felt necessary. Safer than admitting I was sitting in a drug dealer's spare room, watching cockroaches skitter across the walls, wondering how my life had come to this. Work became my sanctuary. 3 days a week, I went to the medical transcription office downtown, where I could pretend for 8 hours that my life was normal. The other 2 days, I worked from my laptop, transcribing doctor's notes and surgical reports while Maya napped in the carrier strapped to my chest. Derek had no job. This wasn't new. He'd been between opportunities for the past year, but it was becoming impossible to ignore. Every day, he promised he was meeting with investors, following up on leads, building his network. Every night, he came home smelling like beer and disappointment. "Did you hear back from that marketing position?" I asked one evening, a week into our stay at Skulls. I was hand-washing Maya's bottles in the kitchen sink, trying to avoid touching anything unnecessarily. "They went with someone else," Derek said flatly, not looking up from his phone. "What about the sales job? Or the one at the warehouse?" "Sophia." His voice held a warning edge. "I'm handling it." "By doing what? Playing poker with Skull and his friends?" The silence that followed was dangerous. Derek slowly set down his phone, his eyes finally meeting mine. "You want to say that again?" Maya chose that moment to start crying from the bedroom. I dried my hands quickly, moving toward her, but Derek stepped into my path. "I asked you a question. I need to get Maya." "Answer me." His hand shot out, gripping my upper arm. Not hard enough to bruise, but hard enough to stop me. "You think I'm not trying? You think I enjoy living in this shithole?" "I think we wouldn't be in this shithole if you'd paid the rent instead of gambling my paychecks away," I said, the words tumbling out before I could stop them. The slap came fast. Not hard, just like Ruth had described, but hard enough to snap my head to the side. Hard enough to leave a burning imprint on my cheek. We both froze, staring at each other in shock. "Sophia," Derek started, his voice strangled. I pushed past him, scooping Maya from her makeshift crib, a laundry basket lined with blankets. My hands shook as I pressed her against my chest, backing away from him. "I didn't mean—" Derek ran his hands through his hair, his face crumpling. "God, Sophia, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. This place, the stress, You hit me," I whispered. I know, and it will never happen again. I swear to you, baby, never again." He reached for me, but I flinched away. The hurt in his eyes looked genuine. "Please. You have to believe me. I'm not that guy. I would never—" But he had. He just had. "I need some air," I said, already moving toward the door. "Sophia, wait." I didn't wait. I grabbed the diaper bag with my free hand and left, Maya wailing against my chest, my cheek still burning, my world narrowing to a single thought. Ruth was right. The building had a small courtyard behind it, if you could call a patch of dead grass and a broken picnic table a courtyard. I sat there in the dark, nursing Maya and trying to remember how to breathe. This was supposed to be temporary. The financial struggles, the tiny apartment, the wrong neighborhoods, all temporary. Derek was supposed to find his footing. We were supposed to build something together. That's what he'd promised when I'd said yes to his proposal 3 years ago, when he'd seemed so sure of himself, so full of potential. I'd met him at a hospital where I was training. He was visiting a friend who'd been in a car accident, and we'd struck up a conversation in the cafeteria. He was in finance, he'd said. Investment consulting. He had plans to start his own firm, be his own boss, build an empire. It had sounded exciting, ambitious. After a lifetime of playing it safe, following my parents' careful scripts, Derek's energy had felt like oxygen. "You're too smart to just transcribe," he'd told me on our third date. "You should be doing more. You could go back to school, become a doctor yourself." It was nice, being seen as more than I saw myself, being encouraged to dream bigger. But somewhere between the wedding and Maya's birth, the dreams had curdled into delusions. The investment firm never materialized. The consulting gigs dried up. The savings I'd carefully accumulated, including the $50,000 from my grandmother's estate, evaporated into schemes that never panned out. And now he'd hit me. My phone rang. Not Derek. My brother, Marcus. "Hello?" I answered, surprised. "Don't hang up," Marcus said immediately. "I know you probably don't want to hear from me after everything, but I need you to listen for a minute." I waited, adjusting Maya to my other breast. "Dad told me what happened at the house, with Mom." Marcus paused. "She was out of line, Sophia. Way out of line. She made her position clear," I said tiredly. "She's scared," Marcus countered. "We all are. Derek is. Look, I did some digging. After he mentioned his deal with someone named Marcus, I wanted to make sure it wasn't me or someone using my name." My stomach dropped. And there is no deal. There's nothing. He's been lying, Sophia." Marcus's voice was gentle but firm. I pulled his credit report. He's got over $80,000 in debt. Credit cards, personal loans, even payday loans. Some of them are in your name. The world tilted again. "What?" "He used your information to open accounts. Nothing big enough to raise red flags, but enough to destroy your credit score. It's currently 520. 520. That meant mortgages were impossible. Car loans would come with predatory interest rates. I was financially underwater, and I hadn't even known I was drowning." "I'm sending you the full report," Marcus continued. "You need to see it, all of it. And then you need to make a decision." "What decision?" I asked bitterly. "I have nowhere to go, Marcus. Mom made that clear." "I know, but..." He hesitated. "There are resources, shelters for women with kids, programs that can help. It's not ideal, but it's better than whatever situation you're in now." A shelter. The word felt like failure incarnate. But was it worse than living in a drug den with a man who'd just hit me? "I'll think about it," I said softly. "Don't take too long," Marcus urged. "These things have a way of getting worse before they get better. Trust me." After we hung up, I sat in the darkness for a long time, feeling Maya's warm weight against me, listening to the distant sounds of the city. Sirens, cars, someone's music thumping through open windows. When I finally went back upstairs, Derek was sitting on the mattress, his head in his hands. He looked up when I entered, his eyes red-rimmed. "I called my mom," he said hoarsely. "Told her what I did. She wants to talk to you." I said nothing, just laid Maya in her basket and picked up the phone he held out. "Sophia?" Derek's mother, Patricia, sounded frantic. "Sweetheart, Derek told me what happened. He's absolutely devastated. He knows he was wrong." "He hit me," I interrupted, needing to say it out loud to someone other than myself. "I know, honey, I know. And that's inexcusable. But Derek has been under so much pressure lately, and sometimes good men do bad things when they're pushed to their limits." "There's no excuse for hitting me," I said firmly. "Of course not. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just..." Patricia took a breath. "Derek loves you and Maya so much. He's a good father, a good husband. This isn't who he is. You know that. Did I? A year ago, I would have agreed without hesitation. Now, I wasn't sure I knew Derek at all. He wants to get help, Patricia continued. Therapy, anger management, whatever it takes. But he needs you to believe in him, to not give up on your family. Your family. The words were a knife, precisely aimed. Because that's what we were supposed to be. A unit. For better or worse. I need time, I said finally. Of course. Take all the time you need. Just promise me you won't do anything rash. Don't listen to your mother. She never approved of Derek, and she's probably filling your head with poison right now. Actually, my mother had barely spoken to me in a week. But I didn't correct Patricia. After the call ended, Derek looked at me hopefully. I meant what I told her. I'll get help. I'll fix this. Okay, I said, because I was too tired to argue. That night, after Derek fell asleep, I pulled up the credit report Marcus had sent. Every line item was a gut punch. Credit cards I didn't know existed, maxed out at their limits. A personal loan for $15,000, supposedly for home improvements on an apartment we'd been renting. A car loan for a truck I'd never seen. All in my name. All forged with my information. I could report him, press charges. But then Maya would be visiting her father in jail, and I'd be a single mother with destroyed credit and no support system. Or I could stay, try to rebuild. Hope that Derek meant his promises this time. Or I could leave. The thought was terrifying and liberating in equal measure. Leave and go where? A shelter? Back to my parents' house and beg? Live in my car until I figured something out? But staying meant accepting that this was my life now. Violence, debt, living in Skull's apartment while Derek chased ghosts of the man he promised he'd be. I looked at Maya, sleeping peacefully in her basket. She deserved better than this. Better than a father who hit her mother. Better than a mother too scared to leave. Ruth's number was still in my phone. I pulled it up, staring at it for a long moment. Then I opened a text message and typed, "Can we talk?" The response came within seconds, despite it being nearly 2 in the morning. "Call me. Now if you can." I slipped into the bathroom, the only place in the apartment where I could close a door and have even the illusion of privacy. Ruth answered on the first ring. "He hit you, didn't he?" she said without preamble. "How did you—" "Because I know the timeline. I know how these things escalate." Her voice was steel wrapped in velvet. "Are you safe right now?" "He's asleep. We're at a friend's place." "You mean a drug dealer named Skull?" I went cold. "How do you know that?" "Your brother called me. He's worried, Sophia. We all are, even if your mother has a terrible way of showing it." Ruth paused. "I need you to listen to me very carefully. What I'm about to tell you could change everything, but only if you're ready to hear it." My heart hammered. "I'm listening." "I lied to you. In the bathroom at your mother's house." Ruth's voice dropped. "I told you I couldn't take you in because of your mother." That was partially true, but it's not the whole truth. "I don't understand." "I own a rental property. A small house in Riverside. 3 bedrooms, fully furnished. The tenant moved out last month and I haven't listed it yet." She took a breath. "It's yours if you want it. You and Maya. No rent for the first 3 months while you get on your feet. After that, we can work out something reasonable based on your income." I couldn't breathe. It was too much, too good to be true. "Ruth, I can't." "Yes, you can. And you will, if you have any sense." Her voice softened. "But here's the catch, Sophia. It's just for you and Maya, not Derek. If you take this offer, you take it alone. You file for divorce, you get a protective order, and you start building a new life." That's a huge condition. It's a necessary one. I won't be party to enabling an abusive relationship. I did that once, with Richard, and I watched other people enable me, and it only made things worse. Ruth's voice cracked slightly. I love that baby I lost, my James, and I'll always wonder who he might have become if I'd been brave enough to leave sooner. To give him a safe, stable home instead of chaos. Tears streamed down my face, silent and hot. I don't know if I can do this. You can. You're already doing it. You called me, didn't you? You know something needs to change. Ruth paused. I'm not saying it will be easy. Leaving never is. But staying with a man who hits you? That's not easier, Sophia. It's just slower suicide. What about Derek? I whispered. He said he'd get help. And he might. People can change, but they have to want to. Really want to. And they have to do the work. That's not your responsibility to manage or monitor. Your responsibility is to Maya and yourself. Through the bathroom door, I heard Derek stirring, mumbling in his sleep. I need to think, I said. Fair enough, but think fast. Ruth's voice turned urgent. My offer expires in 72 hours. After that, I'm listing the house, because I can't let it sit empty indefinitely. This is your window, Sophia. 3 days to decide what kind of life you want. After we hung up, I sat on the closed toilet lid, Maya's bassinet within reach in case she woke, and tried to inventory my options. Option 1. Stay with Derek, hope he gets help, risk more violence, watch my credit score plummet further, raise Maya in instability. Maybe things would get better, maybe they'd get worse. Maybe I'd end up like the women I transcribed notes for, domestic violence victims whose stories ended in ERs or worse. Option 2. Take Ruth's offer, leave Derek, file for divorce. Start over with nothing but a baby and a furnished house and a chance at stability. Face his anger. Face his family's disappointment. Face my mother's I told you so's. Face the crushing weight of single parenthood. Option 3. Some impossible middle ground where Derek magically transformed into the man I'd thought I was marrying, where my family welcomed us back with open arms, where money appeared from nowhere, and everything worked out like a fairy tale. Option 3 was a fantasy. I'd been clinging to it for a year, watching it crumble piece by piece, which left options 1 and 2. Stay or go. Known hell or uncertain future. I pulled up my bank account on my phone. Between my last paycheck and Ruth's cash, I had $800. Enough for 1 week's rent at Skulls and nothing else. Or enough for a security deposit on a fresh start. The numbers blurred as fresh tears fell. Maya stirred, making the soft mewling sound that meant she'd be awake and hungry soon. I lifted her gently, cradling her against my chest, breathing in her baby smell. Milk and powder and innocence. What do I do? I whispered to her. How do I know what's right? She blinked up at me with unfocused eyes, her tiny hand finding my finger and gripping tight. And somehow, in that moment, I knew. Not because the choice was obvious, but because I'd already made it the second Ruth offered me an out. I just needed permission to admit it to myself. I was leaving Derek. The realization should have felt monumental. Instead, it felt quiet, certain, like the last piece of a puzzle clicking into place. But knowing I was leaving and actually leaving were two different things. I'd need a plan, resources, the element of surprise, because men like Derek didn't let go easily. I'd need help. Morning came too soon. Derek woke in an aggressively cheerful mood, as if his apology and his mother's phone call had wiped the slate clean. He made coffee. Terrible instant coffee. But the gesture was there, and presented it to me like an offering. I have a meeting today, he announced. With Marcus. The real Marcus, my buddy from college. He's got a lead on a sales position. I'd heard this song before. Different verses, same chorus. That's good, I said neutrally. It could be big, Sophia. Regional sales manager, company car, full benefits. Derek's eyes shone with familiar manic energy. This could turn everything around. I hope so. He frowned at my tone. You don't believe me. I didn't say that. You don't have to. I can see it in your face. His jaw tightened. You've already given up on me. The old me would have rushed to reassure him, would have pushed down my doubts and played the supportive wife. The new me, the one who'd been slapped, evicted, and humiliated, just took another sip of terrible coffee. I should get ready for work, I said, standing. Derek caught my wrist as I passed. Gently this time, but the implicit threat lingered. We're okay, right? You and me? After last night? I looked at his hand on my wrist. At his face, searching mine for confirmation that he was still the good guy in this story. At the man I'd married, who seemed more like a stranger with every passing day. We're okay, I lied. He released me, satisfied. Good. Because I love you, Sophia. You and Maya are everything to me. Don't forget that. I dressed for work mechanically, my mind already 3 steps ahead. I'd need to call Ruth during my lunch break. Start researching divorce attorneys who worked on sliding scales. Figure out how to move our stuff without Derek knowing. That last part would be tricky. Our belongings fit in 2 garbage bags, but moving them would signal my intentions. I'd need to be subtle, strategic. I'd need to be smart. At work, I threw myself into transcription with unusual focus. Doctors' notes about fractured ribs, torn ligaments, concussions with suspicious circumstances. I'd transcribed hundreds of these reports over the years, never really thinking about the women behind the injuries. Now I saw them clearly, saw myself in them. During lunch, I sat in my car and called Ruth back. I'm taking the house, I said without preamble. If the offer's still good. Ruth's exhale was audible. It's still good. When? This weekend. Derek mentioned a meeting. If he goes, that's my window. I'll need a few hours to pack and get out. I'll have the keys ready. And Sophia? Ruth's voice gentled. I'm proud of you. This takes courage. Or stupidity, I said shakily. Same thing sometimes. We made arrangements. Ruth would have movers on standby. Friends of hers who knew the situation and would work quickly. She'd set up the utilities in her name initially, then transfer them to mine once I was settled. She even had a lawyer contact, someone who specialized in domestic cases and offered free consultations. It felt like a conspiracy. A good one. That night, I pretended everything was normal. I made dinner, canned soup and crackers, and listened to Derek's excited recap of his meeting that never happened. He'd apparently spent the day at a bar with Skull, but he spun it as networking. These things take time, he explained, seemingly unaware that I'd heard this exact speech 100 times before. Building relationships, making connections, you can't rush success. Right, I murmured, feeding Maya her bottle. You could try being more supportive, Derek snapped suddenly. I looked up, startled. I didn't say anything. Exactly. You sit there with that judgmental look on your face, making me feel like shit in my own home. This isn't your home, I said quietly. It's Skull's. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Derek stared at me, his eyes narrowing. You know what? Maybe your mother was right. Maybe you are ungrateful. Here I am, busting my ass to provide for this family, and all you do is criticize. I bit my tongue, literally, tasting copper. 3 more days. I just had to survive 3 more days. Derek's mood swings continued throughout the week. One moment, he'd be the charming man I'd married, helping with Maya and talking about our future. The next, he'd be cold and critical, finding fault in everything I did. On Thursday, he grabbed my phone while I was in the shower, checking my messages. I'd been careful, All communications with Ruth were deleted immediately, all research done on private browsers. But the invasion still felt violating. "Who's calling you from a blocked number?" he demanded when I emerged. "Probably a spam call. I get them all the time. Show me your call log." "Derek, show me." I showed him, heart pounding. The blocked number was actually Ruth checking in, but there was no way for him to know that. He scrolled through suspiciously, looking for evidence of… what? Infidelity? Conspiracy? Finally, he handed the phone back. "Okay, sorry, I worry, you know? That you're going to leave me." The irony wasn't lost on me. Friday arrived with agonizing slowness. Derek's meeting was scheduled for Saturday afternoon at 2. Ruth's movers would arrive at 2:15. I'd have 3 hours, maybe 4 if Derek went out afterward like he usually did. I spent Friday quietly packing, sorting through our meager belongings, deciding what was worth taking. Derek's stuff stayed. My clothes, Maya's things, my laptop, the few photographs I couldn't bear to leave behind. It all fit into 2 suitcases and a diaper bag. 3 years of marriage, reduced to carry-on luggage. That night, Derek was affectionate in a way he hadn't been in months. He held me close, kissed my forehead, whispered promises about how things would get better. "I'm going to make you proud," he murmured into my hair. "I swear it." I wanted to believe him. Some foolish part of me still wanted to believe him. But Ruth's voice echoed in my head. People can change, but they have to want to, really want to, and they have to do the work. Derek wanted things to change. He just didn't want to change himself. Saturday morning felt surreal. Normal breakfast, normal routine, normal conversation about nothing important. Derek was excited about his meeting, confident it would finally be the break he'd been waiting for. "I should be back by 5, he said, kissing me goodbye. "Maybe we can celebrate? Get takeout or something?" "Sure," I said, my heart breaking and healing simultaneously. After he left, I counted to 100, then 200, making sure he wasn't coming back for forgotten keys or phone chargers. At 2:15 exactly, Ruth's movers arrived. 2 women in their 50s who introduced themselves as Jan and Carol. They worked with military efficiency, loading everything into their truck in under an hour. No questions, no judgment, just swift, silent support. Ruth pulled up as they were loading the last box. She hugged me tightly, smelling of expensive perfume and safety. "You're doing the right thing," she whispered. "Then why does it feel so wrong?" "Because you loved him. Love doesn't die just because it should." She pulled back, holding my shoulders. "But sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes survival matters more." We drove in convoy, Ruth's car, the mover's truck, me following behind in my old Honda. Away from Skulls, apartment, away from Derek's broken promises, away from the life I'd been clinging to like a drowning woman, toward something unknown. The house in Riverside was small but perfect. Yellow with white trim, a tiny front yard with a garden that needed weeding, a porch with a swing. Inside, hardwood floors, updated appliances, 2 bedrooms, and a nursery that made my throat tight. "I decorated it when I first bought the place," Ruth said, noticing my reaction. "Before I accepted I'd never have kids. It's yours now. Maya's." The movers helped us unload, then disappeared with kind smiles and firm refusals of payment. "Ruth took care of it," Jan said. By 5 o'clock we were alone. Me, Maya, and Ruth. "Do you want me to stay?" Ruth asked. "I can sleep on the couch. Be here when he comes looking." "No." I surprised myself with my firmness. "This is something I need to do alone." "He will come looking," Ruth warned. "Men like Derek always do." "I know." After Ruth left, I walked through the house room by room, Maya in my arms, introducing her to her new home. "This is the living room, baby girl. And this is the kitchen. And this..." My voice broke in the nursery. This is your room. I laid her in the crib Ruth had set up, a beautiful white one with a mobile of stars and moons. Maya cooed, content, already more relaxed than she'd been in weeks. My phone rang at 6. Derek. I let it go to voicemail. He called again at 6:15, 6:30, 7. By 8, I had 14 missed calls and twice as many texts. Derek. Where are you? Derek. Sophia, answer your phone. Derek. This isn't funny. Derek. Where the fuck are you? Derek. I know you're seeing these. Derek. Did you leave me? Are you seriously doing this? Derek. You can't just take my daughter without telling me. Derek. I'm calling the police. This is kidnapping. Derek. Baby, please. Whatever I did, I'm sorry. Just come back. We can talk. Derek. I love you. Don't do this to our family. The messages oscillated between rage and pleading, threats and apologies. Classic pattern, according to the domestic violence resources I'd been reading all week. At 9, my mother called. I answered, bracing myself. Did you leave him? She asked without preamble. Yes. Silence. Then, good. I nearly dropped the phone. What? I said good. I'm glad you finally came to your senses. My mother's voice was softer than I'd heard it in years. Ruth called me. Told me what she'd done. I was furious at first, that she'd gone behind my back, made me look like the villain, but then I realized she did what I couldn't. I don't understand. I wanted you to leave him. God, Sophia, I wanted that more than anything, but I couldn't enable you. Couldn't let you come home just to have Derek follow and turn my house into a war zone. She took a shaky breath. I thought cutting you off would force you to see who he really was. It was a calculated risk. You could have just told me that. Would you have listened? Or would you have defended him like you always did? The truth of that stung, because she was right. I would have defended him. I had defended him countless times, to countless people. I'm sorry, my mother continued, for making you feel abandoned. But I'm not sorry for refusing to watch him destroy you. We talked for another hour, really talked, for the first time in years. She apologized. I apologized. We agreed to take things slowly, rebuild trust, but at least now there was a foundation to build on. After we hung up, I felt lighter somehow, like I'd been carrying a weight I hadn't realized was there. At midnight, someone knocked on the door. I knew it was Derek before I looked through the peephole. He stood on my porch, disheveled and wild-eyed, looking like he'd been driving for hours. Sophia, he called out. I know you're in there. I can see your car. I didn't answer. Open the door, please. I just want to talk. My hand hovered over the lock. Old habits, old loyalty, old love. They all pulled at me. But Ruth's voice was louder. Men like Derek always come looking. I'm not letting you in. I called through the door. You need to leave. Let me see Maya. You can't keep me from my daughter. I'm not keeping you from anything, but you need to leave, now. Or what? His voice turned ugly. You'll call the cops? Tell them I'm harassing my own wife at her house. Wait. A pause. This isn't your house. This is way too nice. Whose house is this, Sophia? I said nothing. You've been planning this, haven't you? Behind my back, plotting with your family. Derek, I'm calling the police. Do it! He roared, slamming his hand against the door. Call them. Tell them how you kidnapped my daughter and disappeared without a word. See how that works out for you. My hands shook as I dialed 911. The operator was calm and professional, asking questions I answered in a voice that didn't sound like mine. Yes, my husband. Yes, at the front door. No, we don't live together anymore. Yes, I'd like him removed from the property. There's a restraining order violation, I heard myself say, which wasn't true yet but would be by Monday morning. Ma'am? Is there currently a restraining order on file? It's being filed, I amended. First thing Monday morning. Derek must have heard me through the door because he went quiet. Then, you wouldn't? Sophia, you wouldn't do that to me. But I would. I was. The police arrived 12 minutes later. 12 minutes that felt like hours, with Derek alternating between begging and threatening outside my door. They made him leave, warned him about trespassing, took my statement. You should file that restraining order sooner rather than later, the older officer advised. Men in his state tend to escalate. After they left, I double-checked every lock, every window. Then I sat on the floor of Maya's nursery and cried, not quietly this time, but in great heaving sobs that felt like purging poison. Maya slept through it all, safe in her crib, dreaming baby dreams. When I finally calmed down, I texted Ruth. He found the house. Police came. He's gone. Her response was immediate. I'm coming over. No, we're safe. Thank you for everything. Call me if you need anything. Anything at all. I mean it. I know. Thank you. I slept that night in Maya's room, curled up on the floor next to her crib, my phone clutched in one hand. Every sound made me jump. Every car passing outside made my heart race. But we made it through the night. Sunday morning brought sunlight streaming through the windows and the jarring realization that I'd done it. I'd left. We were free. The relief was tempered by fear. Fear of what came next, of Derek's next move, of my ability to survive alone. But underneath the fear was something else. Hope. I spent the day settling in, organizing Maya's things, making the house feel like ours. Ruth stopped by with groceries and a casserole. Marcus called to check in, offering financial help if I needed it. Even my father sent a brief text, proud of you. But Derek's messages never stopped. Derek, I can't believe you called the cops on me. Derek, I would never hurt you. You know that. Derek, this is all a misunderstanding. Derek, please, baby, let's just talk, face to face, without cops or lawyers. Derek, I'm begging you, one conversation, give me a chance to explain. Derek, Maya needs her father. Derek, I'll change, I swear, I'll do whatever you want. Therapy, AA, anything. Derek, don't throw away 3 years of marriage without giving me a chance to fight for us. The messages were expertly crafted, enough vulnerability to tug at my heartstrings, enough manipulation to make me doubt my decisions. This was Derek at his best, charming, persuasive, saying exactly what I wanted to hear. But Ruth had warned me about this too. He'll promise the moon, she'd said. And he might even believe it when he says it, but promises are easy. Follow-through is hard. On Monday morning, I met with the lawyer Ruth had recommended, a woman named Diana Chen who specialized in family law. She was no-nonsense and efficient, walking me through the process of filing for divorce and getting a restraining order. With the police report from Saturday, this should be straightforward, she said, making notes. We'll file for sole physical custody of Maya, with supervised visitation for him once we sort out the details. He's going to fight this, I said. They always do. But he doesn't have much to stand on. Unemployed, kicked you out, history of financial deception. Diana looked up from her notes. You're in a strong position, Sophia. Don't let him make you think otherwise. The paperwork felt official, real. No more abstract planning. This was actual dissolution of a marriage. Do you need time to think about it? Diana asked, seeing my hesitation. I thought of Maya, sleeping peacefully in her car seat. Thought of the slap that had started all this. Thought of the woman I'd been 6 months ago, desperately trying to hold together something that was already broken. No, I said firmly. Let's file it. Derek was served papers on Tuesday. He called 17 times in 3 hours. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I forwarded everything to Diana, building our case one unhinged message at a time. On Wednesday, he showed up at my work. I saw him through the office window, pacing in the parking lot, running his hands through his hair in that way he did when he was agitated. My supervisor, Carol, a grandmother of 5 with zero tolerance for nonsense, took one look at him and called building security. "Ex-husband?" she asked. "Soon-to-be," I confirmed. They're always the worst during the soon-to-be phase. She squeezed my shoulder. "You need to leave early today. Go out the back entrance. Security will make sure he doesn't follow." I worked from home the rest of the week, grateful for a boss who understood, for a job that offered flexibility, for the tiny pieces of stability I was building. Derek's messages evolved from pleading to angry to threatening. "Derek, you're making a huge mistake. Derek, you think you can raise Maya alone? With your salary? Derek, I'll fight for custody. I'll take her from you. Derek, your family will testify for me. They saw how you neglected her. Derek, I have proof you're an unfit mother." Each text was forwarded to Diana, who responded with professional detachment. Classic intimidation tactics. Don't engage. Document everything. On Friday, exactly 1 week after I'd left, Derek sent a different kind of message. "Derek, I'm sorry for all of it. I've been handling this all wrong. Can we please just talk? I need to see Maya. I need to know you're both okay. Please, Sophia, I'm begging you. One conversation, face to face. I won't ask for anything else." This was the message I'd been dreading, the one that sounded genuine, that made me wonder if maybe I was overreacting, if maybe he really did want to change. I called Ruth. "He sounds sincere," I said, hating the hope in my own voice. "Of course he does. That's the point." Ruth was in her car, Bluetooth echoing. "Sophia, listen to me very carefully. This is a trap. Not an obvious trap. Derek's not stupid. But a trap nonetheless. What if he really wants to talk, to work things out? Then he can work things out through lawyers and family court. That's what those systems exist for." Ruth's voice softened. "I know you want to believe him. I wanted to believe Richard, too, every single time. But meeting him alone, without witnesses or protection, is dangerous. Please don't do it." "I won't," I said, even as part of me wondered if I was being cruel. That night, Derek showed up at Ruth's house. Not mine, but hers. I found out later from my mother that he'd tracked her down through public records, showing up at her door with flowers and tears. Ruth had shut the door in his face and called the police. "He's escalating," Diana said when I told her. "This is good for our case, but bad for your safety. You need to be vigilant." Vigilant. Such a clinical word for living in constant fear. The restraining order was approved on Monday of the second week. Derek was served at Skull's apartment, which apparently resulted in him punching a wall and getting thrown out. He was now homeless. Ironically, the same situation he'd created for me. His mother called me that evening, crying. "Sophia, please. He's falling apart. He's staying in his car. He has nowhere to go." "He had somewhere to go," I said coldly. "He had a wife and daughter who needed him. He chose poker and pride instead. He made mistakes, but he's still Maya's father. You can't just cut him off." "I'm not cutting him off. The court will determine visitation once he demonstrates stability. That's not on me, Patricia. That's on him." "You're being cruel." "I'm being a mother. There's a difference." I hung up, shaking, stood my ground, but hating every second of it. Week 3 brought a new development. Derek got a job, a real one, at a car dealership selling used vehicles. He immediately sent me documentation, along with a message. Derek. See? I'm getting my life together. For us. For Maya. I start therapy next week. I found an anger management program. I'm doing everything you asked. Please, Sophia. Give me a chance to prove I've changed. Diana's response. Classic abuser cycle. Grand gestures during the honeymoon phase. Don't fall for it. But it was hard not to, because this was what I'd wanted all along. Derek stepping up, taking responsibility, getting help. Wasn't I obligated to at least acknowledge his effort? I called Ruth again, needing someone to remind me why I'd left. He's doing what he should have done a year ago, Ruth said bluntly. Good for him. That doesn't mean you owe him another chance. But what if he really has changed? In 3 weeks? Sophia, come on. Real change takes months, years even. This is performance, not transformation. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Ruth's voice gentled, because I lived it. Richard went to therapy, got a job, stopped drinking. For 3 whole months he was perfect. And then, slowly, the cracks started showing again. The resentment that I'd forced him to change. The subtle blame that everything was my fault. And eventually, another slap. Then another. And another. I'm sorry, I whispered. Don't be sorry. Be smart. Derek is showing you who he wants you to think he is. Pay attention to who he actually is when he thinks no one's watching. That night, I lay in bed reviewing the past 3 years with brutal honesty. The pattern had been there all along, grand gestures followed by gradual decline. Promises and charm and eventual disappointment. I'd just been too close to see it. Or maybe I'd seen it and chosen to believe anyway. Week 4 brought the first supervised visitation. Derek was allowed 2 hours with Maya at a family services center, with a social worker present. I dropped her off with shaking hands, kissing her soft head and whispering, I love you, baby girl. Derek looked terrible, hollow-eyed and thin, wearing the same clothes I'd seen him in weeks ago. But his smile when he saw Maya was genuine, lighting up his whole face. Hey, princess, he murmured, taking her gently from my arms. His eyes met mine over her head. Thank you. I nodded, unable to speak around the lump in my throat. During those 2 hours, I sat in the parking lot, unable to leave but unable to stay. Ruth had offered to wait with me, but I'd declined. This felt like something I needed to endure alone. My phone buzzed. Marcus. Marcus. How you holding up? Me. Barely. Marcus. For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. Derek needed a wake-up call. Maybe this'll be it. Me. Maybe, but I didn't believe it. And I hated myself for not believing it, for being so cynical about the father of my child. When I picked Maya up, the social worker pulled me aside. He did well, she said. Very gentle with her, attentive. No red flags. That's good, I managed. But, she continued carefully, he spent most of the visit talking about you, asking Maya questions she's too young to answer about whether you're happy, whether you miss him, whether you talk about him. My stomach sank. Is that normal? Common? Yes. Appropriate? No. She handed me her report. He's not ready for unsupervised visits yet. Maybe in a few months, if he continues therapy and demonstrates real progress. Derek was waiting outside, standing next to my car. The social worker frowned but stayed close, ready to intervene if needed. Can we talk? Derek asked. Please? Just 5 minutes? Every instinct screamed no. But looking at him, really looking, I saw genuine desperation. And maybe I was weak, or maybe I was compassionate. But I found myself nodding. 5 minutes, here, where she can see us. I gestured to the social worker. Derek's whole body sagged with relief. Thank you. God, Sophia, thank you. We stood by my car, Maya between us in her carrier, as Derek delivered what sounded like a prepared speech. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, disappointed you, failed you as a husband and father. And I know sorry doesn't fix anything. His voice cracked. But I'm trying. I really am. The therapy, the job, the anger management, it's not for show. It's because I finally understand what I lost. Derek, let me finish. Please. He took a breath. I don't expect you to take me back. I know it's too late for us. But Maya deserves a father who's not a screw-up. And I want to be that father. Not the guy I was, but someone better. It was a good speech, maybe even a sincere one. I hope you mean that, I said softly. For Maya's sake. I do. He looked at our daughter, sleeping peacefully, unaware of the chaos around her. She's the best thing I ever did. The only good thing, really. We'll see how it goes, I said, unlocking my car. One visit at a time. That's all I'm asking for. He helped me load Maya's carrier into the base, his hands gentle. One chance at a time. As I drove away, I watched him in the rearview mirror, standing alone in the parking lot, looking more lost than I'd ever seen him. And despite everything, the slap, the eviction, the lies, the manipulation, I felt a twinge of pity. But pity wasn't love, and it wasn't reason enough to go back. That night, I wrote in the journal Diana had suggested I keep for court purposes. Visitation went well. Derek was appropriate with Maya. Social worker recommended continued supervision. He asked to talk, gave speech about changing, being better, seemed genuine. Still don't trust it. Still don't trust him. But maybe, eventually, he can be the father Maya deserves. Even if he can't be the man I needed. For now, we're safe, we're stable, and that's enough. I closed the journal and looked around the small living room of the house Ruth had given us. Maya's toys scattered on the floor. My laptop open on the coffee table. Transcription work waiting. A life that was mine, built on my own terms. It wasn't the life I'd imagined when I said I do 3 years ago, but it was a good life. And it was ours. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, court dates, financial stress, the exhausting reality of single motherhood. Derek would probably message again, oscillating between charm and anger as he always did. But tonight, in this moment, we had peace. And peace, I was learning, was worth fighting for. Husband made me homeless with our baby. He's now begging for one last chance. The next 3 months passed in a blur of court dates, supervised visitations, and carefully constructed stability. Derek maintained his job at the dealership, attended his therapy sessions, and showed up for Maya every single week without fail. His texts became less frequent, more respectful, asking about Maya's milestones instead of begging for reconciliation. I wanted to believe it was real. God, how I wanted to believe it. But Ruth's warning echoed constantly. Real change takes time. Watch what he does when no one's looking. The problem was, someone was always looking now. The social workers, the therapists, me. Derek's entire life had become a performance with an audience. How could I know what was genuine when everything was monitored? You're overthinking this, my mother said one Sunday afternoon, as we watched Maya crawl across Ruth's living room floor. We'd started having weekly family dinners at Ruth's house, neutral territory where everyone felt safe. Derek is doing everything right. At some point, you have to acknowledge that. I do acknowledge it, I said, bouncing Maya on my knee. I just don't know if it's enough. Enough for what? My father asked, looking up from his newspaper. To trust him again? Or to go back to him? Those are two different things, Dad. Exactly. So which one are you worried about? I didn't have an answer. The truth was, I didn't want to go back to Derek. The peace I'd found in Ruth's little yellow house was precious, hard-won. But I also didn't want Maya growing up without a father. And Derek was trying. Genuinely, consistently trying. My phone buzzed. Derek. Derek. Maya's 9-month checkup is next week, right? Can I come? I want to be there for the important stuff. I showed the message to Ruth, who read it with pursed lips. What do you think? I asked. I think it's a reasonable request from a father who's been consistent for 3 months, Ruth admitted reluctantly. But I also think you should check with Diana first. Make sure it doesn't violate anything. Diana's response was swift. As long as it's in a public place and you're comfortable, there's no legal issue. It might actually strengthen his case for unsupervised visitation eventually. So I agreed. And the following Tuesday, Derek met us at the pediatrician's office, arriving early with a small stuffed elephant for Maya. I remembered you said she likes elephants, he said shyly, offering the toy. She did like elephants. I'd mentioned it once, months ago, in passing. The fact that he remembered made my chest tight. The appointment went smoothly. Derek asked intelligent questions about Maya's development, took notes on the doctor's recommendations, and held her gently while she got her vaccines. When she cried, he soothed her with practiced ease, bouncing her and singing softly until she calmed. You're good with her, I said afterward in the parking lot. I'm her dad, Derek replied simply. I should be good with her. I should have been good with both of you from the start. We stood there in the afternoon sun, Maya between us, and I felt the weight of everything unsaid. Apologies and regrets and might-have-beens. Derek. I'm not asking for anything, he interrupted quickly. I know where we stand. I just want you to know that I see it now, how badly I failed you. And I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry. I know, I whispered. And I did. I could see it in his eyes, hear it in his voice. The remorse was real, but remorse didn't undo the damage. Didn't erase the fear I still felt when someone knocked on my door unexpectedly. Didn't rebuild the trust that had shattered the moment his hand connected with my face. I should go, I said, buckling Maya into her car seat. Thanks for coming today. Anytime, always. He hesitated, then added, I got my own place, by the way. Small apartment, but it's clean. Safe. I'm hoping eventually the social worker will approve visits. There. That's good. Maya needs consistency. So do I. His smile was sad. Turns out, having a reason to get up in the morning helps. After he left, I sat in my car for a long moment, watching him drive away. My phone rang. Marcus. How'd it go? He asked. Good. Really good, actually. He was different. Different how? Present. Focused on Maya instead of me. Actually listening instead of performing. I sighed. It's confusing. Change is always confusing, Marcus said. Especially when you've trained yourself to expect the worst. Am I being unfair to him? Not giving him credit for the progress he's made? No, you're being cautious. There's a difference. Marcus paused. Sophia, Derek put you and Maya on the street. He hit you. He destroyed your credit and stole your inheritance. 3 months of good behavior doesn't erase 3 years of chaos. I know, but Maya deserves a father. Maya deserves a father who's consistently stable, not just temporarily compliant because he's being monitored. Marcus's voice softened. I'm not saying Derek can't change. I'm saying it's okay for you to wait and see if the change sticks before you let your guard down. That night, I dreamed about the eviction. Standing on my mother's porch with nowhere to go, Maya crying against my chest, Derek's hand tight on my waist. But in the dream, when I turned to look at him, his face kept shifting. Sometimes the charming man I'd married, sometimes the hollow-eyed stranger from the parking lot, sometimes someone I didn't recognize at all. I woke up gasping, checking instinctively for Maya in her crib. She slept peacefully, one tiny fist curled near her face. "We're safe," I whispered to myself. "We're safe." But was safe enough? Or was I letting fear dictate my life the way I'd once let love blind me to reality? The months continued. Derek's supervised visits expanded to 4 hours, then 6. The social worker's reports were glowing. Engaged father, appropriate boundaries, genuine emotional connection with child. At Maya's first birthday party, held at Ruth's house with my family in attendance, Derek showed up with a cake he'd made himself. Lopsided and imperfect, but decorated with elephants he'd carefully piped in frosting. "I took a class," he admitted sheepishly when I stared at it. "YouTube tutorials. It's not great." "It's perfect," my mother interrupted, surprising everyone. She'd barely spoken to Derek since I'd left him. "It's thoughtful. Maya will love it." Derek's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, Mrs. Chen." The party was awkward but pleasant. Derek stayed on his side of the room, interacting with Maya but not pushing boundaries with me or my family. When it was time to cut the cake, he asked permission before taking photos. When Maya got fussy, he handed her to me without protest. "He's really trying," my brother James said quietly, watching Derek clean up wrapping paper. "I didn't think he had it in him." "Me neither," I admitted. After everyone left, Derek lingered, helping Ruth and me clean up. We worked in surprisingly comfortable silence, falling into a rhythm that felt familiar from the early days of our marriage, before everything fell apart. "Thank you for letting me be here today," Derek said as he prepared to leave. "It meant everything." "You're her father. You should be at her birthday." "Still, I know it's complicated. I appreciate you making it work." He paused at the door, keys in hand. "Sophia, can I ask you something?" "Okay. Do you think there's any chance—" He stopped, shook his head. "Never mind. That's not fair to ask." "Ask anyway." He took a breath. "Do you think there's any chance, maybe not now but someday, that we could try again? Not jump back into marriage, but just try? Date, maybe? See if we can build something better than what we had?" My heart clenched. This was the question I'd been dreading and anticipating in equal measure. "I don't know," I said honestly. "Right now, I'm focused on Maya and building stability. Anything beyond that feels impossible to think about." "That's fair." He smiled sadly. "For what it's worth, I'm focused on the same things. Being a good dad, building stability. I'm not the same guy who messed everything up, Sophia. I'm working really hard not to be him anymore." "I can see that." "So maybe someday?" His eyes held hope that hurt to look at. "Maybe someday," I echoed. Not a promise, but not a rejection either. After he left, Ruth found me sitting on the porch swing, watching the stars. "You okay?" she asked, settling beside me. "I don't know what I am." I pulled my knees to my chest. Part of me wants to believe he's changed, that we could have the life I thought we were building. But another part of me is just tired. Tired of hoping, tired of being disappointed, tired of trying to fix what might be fundamentally broken. "Those are both valid feelings," Ruth said gently. "And you don't have to choose right now. You don't have to choose ever, really. You can just exist in the uncertainty until something becomes clear. What if nothing ever becomes clear? Then you keep living your life, raising your daughter, building your peace. Derek's redemption arc isn't your responsibility, Sophia. It's his." I leaned my head on her shoulder, grateful for her wisdom. "Thank you for everything. The house, the support, the reality checks when I need them. That's what family does." She kissed the top of my head. "And you are family, sweetie. Never doubt that." 6 months post-separation, the court granted Derek unsupervised visitation. 2 Saturdays a month, overnight once his apartment was inspected and approved. The social worker's final report recommended eventual shared custody if Derek maintained his progress. The night before Maya's first overnight visit with Derek, I barely slept. I packed her bag 3 times, checking and rechecking that everything was perfect. Diapers, wipes, favorite blanket, backup pacifiers, detailed instructions about her routine. "She'll be fine," Marcus assured me when I called him at 2 a.m., panicking. "And if she's not fine, Derek will call you. He's not going to let anything happen to her." What if she cries all night? What if she doesn't sleep in a strange place? What if... "Sophia, breathe. You're spiraling." He was right. I was spiraling, catastrophizing, inventing disasters where none existed. When I dropped Maya off at Derek's apartment Saturday morning, he had everything ready. A new crib still in its box, shelves stocked with diapers and formula, even a white noise machine like the one we used at home. "I read that consistency helps with transitions," he explained, showing me around the small but clean space. "So I tried to make it as similar to her room at your place as possible." "You did good," I admitted, throat tight. "I'll call you tonight after she's asleep, and tomorrow morning when she wakes up. And if there's any problems at all..." "I know. Thank you." Leaving was harder than I'd anticipated. Maya waved from Derek's arms, babbling happily, completely unaware of my internal crisis. I made it to my car before the tears started. The house felt impossibly empty without her. I cleaned obsessively, reorganizing drawers that didn't need reorganizing, washing sheets that weren't dirty. Ruth invited me over for dinner, but I declined. This was something I needed to sit with, the reality of shared custody, of Maya having a life separate from me. Derek called at 7, video chat showing Maya in pajamas, freshly bathed and content. "She ate all her dinner and took a great bath," he reported. "We read 3 books and she's getting sleepy." "That's good," I managed, smiling at Maya through the screen. "Good night, baby girl. Mommy loves you." "Love you," Maya babbled back, one of her few words. Derek called again the next morning as promised, and when I picked Maya up Sunday afternoon, she was happy and well-rested. The overnight had been a success. "Same time in 2 weeks?" Derek asked hopefully. "Same time," I confirmed. The pattern established itself. Derek continued therapy, maintained his job, showed up for Maya consistently. My family slowly warmed to him, first Marcus, then my father. Eventually, even my mother admitted he'd come a long way. 10 months after I'd left, Derek asked me to coffee. "Just coffee," he emphasized. "No pressure, no agenda, just 2 adults talking." I almost said no. But Ruth's words echoed, "You don't have to decide anything. You can just exist in the uncertainty." So I said yes. We met at a cafe midway between our homes, neutral territory. Derek arrived first, securing a corner table away from crowds. He'd lost weight, I noticed, in a healthy way, like he'd been taking care of himself. His clothes were nicer, his hair cut professionally. "You look good," I said, sitting down. "So do you." "Happy?" "You look happy." "I am," I said, surprised to realize it was true. "Life is good. Stable. Maya's thriving. Work is going well. I'm even taking an online coding class." "Coding? That's new." "I want more options. Medical transcription is fine, but I want to build something bigger, for Maya's future." I sipped my coffee. "What about you? How's the dealership?" "Good. Really good, actually. I made Salesman of the Month last quarter." He smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes. "Turns out I'm decent at sales when I actually show up next. You've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.